Welcome in, everybody. It's Friday, August 28th, 2026, and this is the Daily Diamond Buzz Show on Baseball Nation Network. I'm Dean Patino, and we've got a full 15-game slate waiting for us tonight. The games begin with one of the toughest assignments any pitcher can draw. Tarik Skubal faces the Dodgers in Detroit, while Yankees Red Sox is back in the Bronx. We'll also look at Hunter Brown against the Mets, Andrew Painter visiting the Angels, and a fascinating matchup between the Rangers and Brewers. Then we turn to the pennant race because every late August series carries a little more weight. The standings tighten, the pressure builds, and a routine Friday night can become the night we remember when the postseason picture is finally settled. We'll talk about the clubs trying to create separation, the teams fighting to stay close, and what tonight's schedule could mean as the weekend unfolds. Our spotlight legend is the extraordinary Turkey Stearnes, one of the greatest hitters in baseball history and a towering figure from the Negro Leagues. His name deserves to be known by every baseball fan, and today we're giving his remarkable career the attention it commands. And then it's Dean's take. Baseball should finally dump the three-batter minimum. It was designed to improve pace, but it has taken a layer of strategy away from managers and turned certain pitching changes into exercises in waiting rather than decision-making. That's all ahead. Settle in and let's get to the baseball. Before we turn fully toward Friday, let's close the book on a Thursday that gave us a little bit of everything, including a pitching showcase in Atlanta and a statement win in the Bronx. The tightest game on the board belonged to the Braves, who blanked the Dodgers. Los Angeles Dodgers 0, Atlanta Braves 1. Chris Sale earned the win while Yoshinobu Yamamoto took the loss. When those two names share a pitching line, you expect a game with very little room for error, and that is exactly what the final reflects. Atlanta found the run it needed, and Sale made it stand. In New York, Houston handed the Yankees a decisive home loss. Houston Astros 5, New York Yankees 1. Hayden Wesneski was the winning pitcher, and Garrett Cole was charged with the loss. Anytime you beat the Yankees with Cole on the mound, especially in New York, it gets your attention. Houston came away with one of the more eye-catching results of the day. Kansas City brought the loudest offense. Kansas City Royals 13, Toronto Blue Jays 2. Noah Cameron got the win, and Spencer Arrighetti took the loss. There is no delicate way to describe that final. The Royals controlled the game and put a big number on the board against Toronto. Milwaukee also enjoyed a comfortable win. Milwaukee Brewers 8, New York Mets 2. Jacob Misiorowski earned the victory, with Sean Manaea taking the loss. The Brewers gave Misiorowski plenty of support and sent the Mets into Friday looking for a quick reset. Washington handled Colorado. Colorado Rockies 1, Washington Nationals 7. Tom Cosgrove was the winning pitcher and Gabriel Hughes was the loser. The Nationals took care of their business at home and head into a new matchup with Miami carrying some momentum. St. Louis won a higher scoring game against Baltimore. Baltimore Orioles 5, St. Louis Cardinals 7. Luis Gastelum got the win. Trevor Rogers took the loss, and Riley O'Brien recorded the save. The Cardinals had to finish that one properly, and O'Brien closed the door. And out west, San Francisco beat Arizona. Arizona Diamondbacks won, San Francisco Giants 6. Landon Roop earned the win, while Jose Cabrera was charged with the loss. Those same clubs stay in San Francisco for another meeting today. As we come to you on this Friday, nothing is underway and nothing is final yet, so the entire 15-game slate is still in front of us. The matchup that grabs me first is the Dodgers visiting Detroit, where Tarik Skubal gets the ball against Drew Anderson. Any night Skubal pitches is worth your attention, and facing that Los Angeles lineup makes this one especially compelling. The Dodgers are also trying to respond immediately after being shut out in Atlanta. In New York, the Red Sox and Yankees renew their rivalry with Patrick Sandoval opposing Cam Schlittler. I don't need extra salesmanship for Boston and New York on a Friday night. The uniforms and the setting do the work. I'm also circling Houston at the Mets. Hunter Brown faces Christian Scott in a matchup between clubs that are always going to draw national attention. Houston arrives after that strong result against the Yankees, while the Mets try to rebound from their loss to Milwaukee. And if you love young power arms, Philadelphia sends Andrew Painter against Reid Detmers and the Angels. That pitching matchup alone gives you a reason to check in. The rest of the schedule has plenty to offer. Cincinnati visits the Cubs with Rhett Lauder against David Peterson. Miami goes to Washington, where Yuri Perez faces Jackson Kent. Kansas City heads to Cleveland after its big offensive day, and that matchup gives us Michael Wacha against Tanner Bybee. San Diego visits Tampa Bay with Casey Mees opposing Shane McClanahan. Seattle is in Toronto, where the Mariners starter is still to be determined, and Dylan Cease is scheduled for the Blue Jays. Colorado moves on to Atlanta with Tomoyuki Sugano facing Grant Holmes. Texas visits Milwaukee, and that is Cody Bradford against Logan Henderson. The White Sox go to Minnesota with Luis Castillo opposing Dean Kremer. Pittsburgh visits St. Louis, where Jared Jones matches up with Quinn Matthews. Baltimore heads to the Athletics with Brandon Young scheduled for the Orioles and the Athletics starter still to be determined. And Arizona gets another shot at San Francisco, this time with Cole Drake against Blade Tidwell. There are 15 games coming, no live action yet, and no Friday finals to report. Skubal against the Dodgers may be the headliner, but Boston and New York never need an invitation to take over the evening. Houston and the Mets bring their own spotlight, and Painter against Detmers has real intrigue. Those are the matchups setting the tone for me today on the Daily Diamond Buzz Show. Let's check the pennant races, because the tightest divisions are giving us exactly what we want heading into the next couple of weeks. In the American League East, the Rays are 79-54 and lead the Yankees by 4.0 games. New York is 75-58, while the Red Sox are 73-60 and 6.0 games back. The Yankees and Red Sox are both in strong wildcard position, listed at plum 7.5 and plum 5.5 respectively. So Tampa Bay has company in the division race, but all three clubs have some breathing room in the broader playoff picture. The real tension begins in the American League Central. The White Sox are 70-63, but the Guardians are 68-66 and only 2.5 games back. Cleveland has won 7 straight, while Chicago has won 2 straight. That is a genuine race, and one good week can change the order quickly. The Twins at 64-70 and 6.5 games back still have a path, but they need to stop losing ground. The American League West is even tighter. The Astros are 67-67, the Rangers are 66-68 and just 1.0 game back, and the Mariners are 64-70, only 3.0 games back. Nobody is separated. Nobody has built much protection. Over the next couple of weeks, every short losing streak in that division is going to feel bigger than it normally would. In the American League wildcard picture, the Yankees and Red Sox are in control of 2 positions, with Cleveland holding the other spot in these standings. The Rangers are 2.0 games back. The Orioles are 3.0 games back. The Blue Jays are 3.5 games back. And both the Twins and Mariners are 4.0 games back. That is a crowded chase. The division races in the Central and West could shuffle the wildcard order almost daily. Over in the National League, the Braves are 79-55 and lead the Phillies by 5.0 games. In the East, Philadelphia is 74-60 and sits at plum 2.0 in the wildcard column. The Brewers own the largest divisional cushion among the contenders. They are 83-51, with the Cubs at 76-58 and 7.0 games back. Chicago remains in excellent wildcard shape at plus 4.0. In the West, the Dodgers are 80-54 and lead the Padres by 8.0 games. San Diego is 72-62, while the D-backs are 71-64 and 9.5 games behind Los Angeles. The sharpest National League wildcard race is around that final position. The Padres hold it right now, with Arizona only 1.5 games back. The Marlins are 68-66 and 4.0 games back, while the Cardinals are 67-68 and 5.5 games back. So circle 3 races: the American League Central, the American League West, and Padres versus D-backs around the final National League wild card. Those are the pressure points. Over the next couple of weeks, consistency matters more than a single dramatic night. Avoid the extended skid, win the close games, and make the teams behind you chase. Turkey Stearnes did not need the modern spotlight to build one of the most imposing resumes baseball has ever seen. He built it over time, year after year, while playing in an era when Negro League greatness was denied the broad recognition it deserved. From 1923 through 1940, Stearnes established himself as a complete offensive force. The longtime Detroit Stars outfielder was not simply a power hitter. He was not simply a high average hitter. He was not simply a threat on the bases. He brought all of it together and he maintained that level of production across a long career. Sometimes a player is remembered through one defining afternoon, one swing, or one unforgettable play. With Stearnes, the defining moment is larger than that. It is the full body of work. It is the accumulated weight of every hit, every drive, and every trip around the bases. He finished with, again, 368 hits and 194 home runs. He drove in 136 runs and scored 959 times himself. He also stole 141 bases, another reminder that his offensive game was not limited to what happened when he drove the baseball. Then there is the number that ties everything together. Turkey Stearnes finished with a career 347 batting average. Let that settle in for a second. 347 over a career stretching from 1923 through 1940. That is not a brief hot streak or one extraordinary season. That is remarkable consistency combined with serious power. It tells you Stearnes could control an at-bat, find hits, and do damage. The home runs and runs batted in show the force. The batting average shows how often that force connected. The stolen bases show the pressure did not end once he reached base. For Detroit, that made him a true centerpiece. He was the kind of hitter an opponent had to account for before the game ever began. There was no comfortable way to approach him, challenge him, and he could drive the ball. Work carefully, and you still had to find a way past a hitter who finished at 347. Let him reach, and his legs added another problem. Put that skill set in today's game, and Stearnes would still fit. Power plays in every era. So does consistent contact. So does athleticism on the bases. Modern clubs spend enormous energy searching for hitters who can impact the baseball without sacrificing the ability to hit for average. Stearnes' record tells us he already had that combination. The recognition from Cooperstown finally came in 2000 when the Veterans Committee selected him. That honor arrived decades after his final season. It was delayed recognition, but the delay could not reduce the player or soften the resume. Turkey Stearnes had already made his case between the lines. He hit for average, drove the baseball, produced runs, and created pressure with his legs. He did it across a long career, and he did it without receiving the broad spotlight his greatness deserved at the time. The spotlight is here now. And when you look at those numbers, especially that career 347 batting average, Turkey Stearnes does not merely ask for your attention. He commands it. Here's your Did You Know for today. In 1962, the New York Mets acquired catcher Harry Cheedy from the Cleveland Indians for a player to be named later, then returned Cheedy to Cleveland as that player after he appeared in 15 games for the Mets. That is one of baseball's great transaction oddities. A player to be named later usually gives two clubs time to finish a deal. The teams agree that another player will change hands, but the final identity is settled down the road. In this case, the identity turned out to be the same man who had already been traded. Think about what had to happen. Cheedy went from Cleveland to New York while the deal remained incomplete. He suited up for the Mets, appeared in those 15 games, and then became the final piece sent back to complete his own trade. On paper, the Mets acquired him and later used him as the return. It sounds like a loophole someone dreamed up after staring at the transaction rules for too long, but it really happened. Cheedy effectively became both the player acquired and the player surrendered in the same deal. Baseball history is filled with trades that look different years later because of a prospect's development or a veteran's unexpected revival. This one needed no hindsight. Its strangeness was built directly into the transaction itself. Harry Cheedy did not merely get traded and then traded back. He was the player to be named later. For Harry Cheedy, a wonderfully circular piece of Mets history. I want Major League Baseball to abolish the 3-batter minimum for relief pitchers, not adjust it, not add another exception, get rid of it. I understand why the rule exists. Nobody was asking for endless pitching changes, especially when a manager would bring in one reliever for one matchup, walk to the mound again, and repeat the process. Those stoppages could drain the tension out of a close game. MLB saw a pace problem and tried to address it, but it addressed the wrong part of the problem. My first reason is simple. The rule restricts legitimate strategy. A manager should be able to bring in a left-hander to face one dangerous left-handed hitter and then make another move. That is not a loophole. That is roster construction, meeting game management. Late inning baseball is supposed to be a chess match. The opposing manager can counter with a pinch hitter. The pitching coach has to decide whether the matchup advantage is worth spending a bullpen arm. The reliever still has to execute. Every decision creates another decision, and that tension is part of what makes October baseball and really any close game so compelling. The three-batter minimum takes some of those decisions away before the manager can even make them. It does not merely speed up the chess clock, it removes pieces from the board. My second reason is that specialized players deserve specialized roles. Not every effective reliever is built to retire every type of hitter. Some pitchers survive because of a particular arm angle, pitch shape, or matchup advantage. That does not make them less legitimate. Baseball has always rewarded players who can do one valuable thing exceptionally well. A pinch runner might enter because speed is his best tool. A defensive replacement might appear because one ball in the gap could decide the game. Nobody says those players must remain involved for 3 separate moments before their specialty counts. Yet, with relief pitchers, MLB has decided that a manager cannot always use a player for the precise job that earned him a place in the bullpen. That flattens roster creativity. It nudges clubs toward relievers with broader matchup profiles and away from pitchers with one sharp, unusual weapon. I would rather see more styles, more arm slots, and more ways to get a critical out. My third reason is that baseball now has better tools for controlling dead time. The pitch timer keeps the game moving between pitches. Mound visits are limited. Those changes target inactivity without telling a manager which baseball decision he must make. That distinction matters. If pitching changes take too long, speed up the pitching changes. Put a firm clock on the transition. Tighten the warm-up period. Reduce the time surrounding the move. The problem is not that a new pitcher enters. The problem is how long everyone waits before play resumes. Now, the best argument for keeping the rule is a fair one. Constant bullpen maneuvering can become tedious. A late inning can lose its rhythm when each important matchup brings another walk from the dugout. Fans should not need extraordinary patience just to reach the next pitch. There is also something appealing about asking a reliever to solve more than one problem. If he enters to face a favorable matchup, maybe he should have to deal with the dangerous hitter waiting behind it. I get that. And I do not want managers turning every inning into a parade of specialists. But convenience should not outrank competition. When the game is on the line, the manager's job is to create the best possible matchup with the players available. The other manager's job is to counter that back and forth is not clutter around the game. It is the game. MLB has already shown that pace can improve through rules aimed directly at wasted time. Keep doing that. Make substitutions crisp. Get the next pitcher ready. Restart play quickly. Just do not confuse fewer decisions with better baseball. Let managers manage. Let specialists specialize. Preserve the tactical pressure that makes late innings feel different from everything that came before them. The 3-batter minimum solved a real annoyance by creating a deeper competitive limitation. That trade was not worth it. It is time to reverse it. Now let's get into the mailbag. From Dana in Newark, Dean, Hunter Brown, and Christian Scott are listed for Astros Mets today. If a starter is filling up the zone, should hitters hunt one specific pitch or pick a location and swing at anything that shows up there? I'd rather have a hitter hunt a location, especially early, sit on one exact pitch, and you might take a hittable fastball because you guessed breaking ball. Pick an area where you do damage, usually around the middle and on your preferred side, and attack when the ball enters that window. As the game develops, the dugout can identify patterns like what the starter throws when behind or how he finishes at bats. Then you can become more pitch specific, but control the strike zone without becoming passive. A strike thrower wants quick, uncertain swings. A location plan provides aggression with discipline behind it. From Priya in Duluth, Rangers Brewers has Cody Bradford against Logan Henderson today. Do managers decide before the game which hitters a starter won't face a third time, or should that call be based entirely on what they're seeing? There should be a plan before the game, but it can't become something you're afraid to change. The staff identifies the dangerous part of the lineup, possible matchup problems, and the relievers behind the starter. That creates a roadmap, but the game has to speak. If the starter is locating, changing speeds, and getting comfortable outs, I'm not removing him simply because the lineup has turned over. Hard contact matters, even when it becomes an out. So do long at-bats and declining command. Third time through numbers are a warning, not an automatic stop sign. Good managing means knowing the research and trusting your eyes as the game takes shape. From Wally in El Paso, I'm checking out Luis Castillo against Dean Kremer in White Sox Twins. In the first inning, do you learn more from a pitcher's velocity or from where his misses are going? The misses usually tell me more. Velocity is useful, but a pitcher can show his normal number without knowing where the ball is headed. Does the fastball miss just above the target or sail toward the middle? Does the breaking ball finish near the plate or back up into danger? Good misses suggest the delivery is close and the pitcher may settle in quickly. Scattered misses on both sides are more concerning because there may not be one simple correction. Watch the catcher too. Repeatedly moving the target or visiting the mound can show that the pitcher's feel isn't matching the plan. Velocity gets attention, but location and the shape of the miss tell you whether the stuff is usable. From Tess in Newark, if you could build a team around either peak Pedro Martinez or peak Greg Maddux, who are you taking? I keep changing my answer because they dominated so differently. At absolute peak, I'm taking Pedro Martinez by the narrowest margin. His best stretch around 1999 and 2000 came in an offensive era, yet he overwhelmed every type of lineup with power, movement, command, and fearlessness. Maddux offers the longer run of dependable brilliance, including 4 consecutive Cy Young awards. Nobody was better at turning tiny advantages into easy-looking outs. For a decade, I might lean Maddux because of his durability and sustained excellence. For one season, one postseason, or one game at their very best, Pedro's combination of strikeouts, command, and weak contact is almost impossible to pass up. There's no wrong choice between those peaks. Keep those questions coming. Send yours in at Baseball Nation Network. That brings us to a full Friday night across the majors, with all 15 games still ahead. The headliner may be the Dodgers visiting Detroit, where Tarik Skubal is matched against Drew Anderson. Houston goes from the Bronx to Queens, with Hunter Brown facing Christian Scott and the Mets. And in another New York matchup, Patrick Sandoval gets the ball for Boston against Cam Schlittler and the Yankees. I'll be watching Yuri Perez against Jackson Kent when Miami visits Washington. I'm also interested in the power arms in Philadelphia's trip to Anaheim with Andrew Painter opposite Reid Detmers. San Diego and Tampa Bay offers Casey Mize against Shane McClanahan, while Kansas City heads into Cleveland behind Michael Wacha against Tanner Bybee. Elsewhere, Rhett Lauder and the Reds visit the Cubs and David Peterson. Seattle goes to Toronto, where Dylan Cease is listed for the Blue Jays, and the Mariners' starter remains to be determined. Colorado has Tomoyuki Sugano against Atlanta's Grant Holmes. Texas sends Cody Bradford against Milwaukee's Logan Henderson, and the White Sox have Luis Castillo opposite Minnesota's Dean Kremer. Pittsburgh and St. Louis gives us Jared Jones against Quinn Matthews. Baltimore visits the Athletics with Brandon Young scheduled, and the opposing starter still to be determined. Arizona stays in San Francisco, where Cole Drake faces Blade Tidwell. What am I watching most closely? Skubal against that Dodgers lineup, the tone of the Red Sox Yankees opener, and whether Kansas City carries its momentum into a divisional game in Cleveland. I also want to see how Painter handles the Angels and how McClanahan looks against San Diego. Tomorrow's specific matchups and probable pitchers are not included in the schedule in front of us, so we'll wait for those to be confirmed rather than guess. For now, settle in. Friday night has every club in action and plenty of pitching worth your attention. I'm Dean Patino, and this is the Daily Diamond Buzz Show on Baseball Nation Network. That's your Daily Diamond Buzz. What happened, why it matters, and what's next. Everything baseball, every day, every era. Come see it all at Baseball Nation Network. I'm Dean Patino. We'll talk tomorrow.